You ever have one of those nights where the whole room's laughing at you, but deep down, you're the one holding the real punchline? Picture this. It's a swanky tech gala in downtown Seattle, rain pattering against the floor-to-ceiling windows like it's trying to crash the party. And there I am, or rather, Riley Hayes is pushing a mop bucket through the shadows, invisible as a ghost in her faded blue uniform, while Marcus Hale, the big-shot CEO of Hale Innovations, struts around like he owns the skyline. Marcus is this 50-something bulldog of a man, all sharp suits and sharper tongue, built his empire on killer apps and cutthroat deals. But tonight he's got his daughter Sophia, 24, sharp as a tack, but trapped in her daddy's shadow, dangling like some prize at a county fair. He grabs the mic, voice booming over the clink of champagne flutes. "All right, you high rollers, here's the dare. Fly my bird up top the chopper on the roof and I'll hand over Sophia's hand to whoever's got the guts." The crowd erupts, half in hoots, half in eye rolls, because who the hell flies a helicopter on a whim? But then Derek Voss, the slimy VP with his gelled back hair and eyes like a shark smelling blood, spots Riley in the corner, wiping up some spilled Merlot, and leans in with that grin that says he's about to gut someone for sport. "Hey, mop girl," he drawls, loud enough for the chandeliers to hear. "Why don't you give it a whirl? Bet you'd make one hell of a Hale in-law scrubbing toilets for the family jewels." Laughter ripples out like a bad wave, Sophia's cheeks flushing pink as she shoots Derek a glare that could curdle milk, but Marcus just chuckles, crossing his arms, thinking it's all a harmless jab at the help. Riley pauses, mop handle slick in her grip, and you can almost feel the storm brewing inside her, the kind that simmers from years of biting her tongue, from missions gone dark that left her unit scattered like ash, from coming home to a mom fighting cancer in a cramped apartment off Aurora Avenue, trading flight suits for floor polish because one classified op in the Afghan hills broke something in her she couldn't fix with a paycheck. She's not just cleaning spills. She's erasing pieces of herself every shift, that old dog tag from her co-pilot Jake, gone too soon, tucked in her pocket like a secret bruise, a reminder that heroes don't always get parades. Sometimes they get eviction notices. And here's the thing that gets Morelli didn't snap back with some fiery speech. Nah, she just sets the mop against the wall, slow and steady, like she's folding a flag at a funeral, and walks right through that sea of tuxedos and gowns, heads turning, whispers buzzing like flies on roadkill. Derek's smirk falters for a split second. Wait, is she serious? But the crowd's too buzzed on free booze to care, chuckling as she pushes open the glass doors to the rooftop helipad, wind whipping her ponytail like it's cheering her on. Marcus mutters to Sophia, "This'll be rich, watch her chicken out." But Sophia's eyes are locked on Riley, wide with this mix of worry and wonder, like she senses the undercurrent, the way Riley's hands don't shake as she climbs into the cockpit, fingers dancing over the controls like they're old lovers reuniting after a decade apart. The blades whine to life, whoop whoop whoop, slow at first, then roaring like thunder rolling in from the sound, and bam, she's airborne, tilting smooth over the glittering sprawl of Seattle, Puget Sound winking below like it's in on the joke. Down on the roof, glasses clatter to the concrete. Marcus's jaw drops mid-sip. Derek's face drains to chalky white. "What the?" And Sophia? She gasps, hand to her mouth, but it's a grin breaking through, because in that moment, the room sees it. Riley's no scrubber dreaming big. She's Lieutenant Riley Hayes, youngest drone pilot in the Special Ops Squadron, vanished after that black bag mission in 18, where her team got pinned by a sandstorm ambush. Jake's bird going down in flames while she nursed the controls back to base on fumes and fury. Only survivor because she refused to bail. She banks once, twice, a lazy loop that screams, "I own this sky," then sets her down featherlight, stepping out with grease smudged on her cheek, uniform rumpled but chin high, and the crowd parts like the Red Sea as she strolls back in no fanfare. Just that quiet fire in her eyes that says, "Your move." But oh man, the backlash. It hit like a Puget Low tabloids the next morning screaming, "Janitor's joyride." Desperate bid for a tech throne, with Riley's face splashed next to Sophia's, implying some gold-digging fairy tale. Co-workers in the break room side-eyeing her over their lattes. Thinks one spin makes her C-suite material. Huh. And Derek. Oh, Derek, he's seething because Riley's stunt stole his thunder. Exposed how he's been siphoning code contracts to his side hustle, jealous of Marcus's easy charisma since they clawed up from the same garage startup days, back when Derek was the idea guy and Marcus the closer. But now it's all resentment festering like bad coffee. He corners her in the server room that afternoon, lights flickering from the humming racks, his voice a venomous hiss, cute parlor trick, Hayes, but you're still wiping my butts and get delusions of landing in Sophia's league. Riley doesn't flinch, just keeps uncoiling a cable, her voice low and laced with that pilot's calm, delusions are for guys who think power's a corner office. Voss minds in knowing when to cut engines. He storms off, but the seed's planted, and Sophia? She slips into the utility closet later, holding out this dusty flight manual she dug from her dad's desk. Riley's faded signature scrawled in the margins from a training hop years back. Why hide this? You're incredible. Riley's fingers trace the ink, throat tight with the ghost Jake's laugh echoing in her headset. The acrid smoke of that last run and she whispers, incredible gets you medals or graves. Soph, I picked the mop to remember I'm still breathing. It's raw, that vulnerability cracking through her armor, and Sophia nods, eyes misty, because she gets it, trapped in her own cage of boardroom expectations, dreaming of coding her own path instead of marrying into daddy's legacy. Fast forward a week, and the charity air show at the old Boeing Field big donor bash for kids' STEM programs, hundreds packed in under gray skies. Riley relegated to hauling chairs and hosing down the tarmac because Marcus grumbles. Heroics don't rewrite the org chart, but Derek's scheming with the head mechanic. Lilia, greasy weasel loyal to Voss's backroom payoff stampering the rotors on the demo chopper. Figuring it'll clip Riley if she so much as glances at the stick, payback for embarrassing him, for threatening his skimmed millions that could buy him out of Marcus's shadow. Lyle climbs in for the show-off pass, waving like a parade float, but the bird bucks wild mid-engine's coughing black smoke, crowd screaming as it spirals toward the bleachers and Riley's already bolting from the sidelines. Boots slamming gravel, vaulting into the co-pilot seat before Lyle can bail out. Now, she snaps, hands a blur on the sticks, wrestling at level with that muscle memory from dodging Taliban fire. Sweat beating but voice steady. I've got you. Hold on. And she threads it down. Safe. Rotors kissing turf like a sigh. The stadium exploding in cheers that drown the rain. Cameras flash wild. A reporter shoves a mic in her face post-landing, staged for sympathy, right? Janitor playing savior, and Riley, wiping rotor grime from her brow, locks eyes cool as steel. I don't stage crashes, lady, I survive him. Derek's in the wings, purple-faced, yelling, it's a setup, she rigged it for headlines. But the crowd's turning, murmurs rippling like, wait, that was her? And Sophia's rushing the tarmac, hugging Riley fierce, you didn't just fly, you fought. Tears mixing with the mist, while Marcus stands frozen, wine forgotten, finally seeing the woman who'd been mopping his regrets. Then the hammer drops a leaked audio from Lyle's phone, Derek's voice crisp as a confession. Clip the fuel line, just enough let the maid take the fall. We'll pin the funds on her desperation. Boom. Boardroom implodes next dawn, Derek hauled out in cuffs by security. His empire of envy crumbling. Turns out he'd been grudge-fueling this sabotage since Riley's first flight, exposed his sloppy lies to a junior dev who'd overheard his side deals. Lyle flips like a bad landing, spilling how Derek's jealousy stemmed from that old startup betrayal. Marcus poaching his best code back in '05, leaving Derek clawing for scraps ever since. Marcus calls an emergency presser in the glass-walled atrium, face haggard under the lights. I called her nothing, mocked her fire. But Riley Hayes? She's the spine this company's been missing. Reporters swarm. So the marriage pledge? Sophia and the janitor pilot? And Sophia steps up, hand in Riley's, voice cracking but fierce. I don't need a dare or a dowry. That I need real, the kind that pulls you from wreckage. But before Marcus can choke out a yes, the doors swing wide, and in walks Thea, Riley's husband, this quiet ex-SEAL with salt and pepper stubble and eyes like weathered oak, the one who'd pulled her from that psych eval after the mission, piecing her back together in their tiny queen and walk-up while she cared for her fading mom. He doesn't say a word, just slides beside her, thumb brushing her knuckles, and the room inhales sharp. Derek's old aide drops her tablet. A board suit in the back mutters, over my dead portfolio, because Theo's presence? It's armor, unspoken, The kind that says, "We've buried worse than your whispers." Marcus swallows hard, takes Riley's free hand gentle, almost reverent, a woman who stares down storms from a cockpit. Hell, she's worthy of worlds, not just mine. Cameras blaze, the feed goes viral, headlines flipping from farce to fable, from mop to maverick, the flight that toppled a tech tyrant. Months blur after that. Derek's trial drags through the courts, while testifies for a plea, their cronies scattering like rats from a sinking server farm. Ann Riley? She clocks in same as ever, pushing that bucket through Hale's halls. But now folks nod, step aside. A quiet, mourning lieutenant slipping out like amends. Sophia and her? They're thick as thieves, coding late nights in the loft, hands brushing over keyboards, that spark flickering from gratitude to something electric, unspoken, while Marcus watches from his corner office, softer around the edges, finally grilling steaks at their place instead of deals. Theo grins over it all, low-key proud, because he knows Riley's fire isn't for spotlights. It's the quiet burn that got her through losing Jake, through Mom's last breath in that hospice bed, through choosing buckets over badges to rebuild on her terms. But here's the twist that keeps me up some nights, the one that makes you wonder if justice is ever clean. Riley stays on, promoted to ops lead, yeah, but still mopping her own office some shifts, saying, "Keeps me grounded." Yet whispers swirl in the break room. Did she game the system, leverage that flight for a power play? Or was Marcus's pivot just daddy guilt, propping up a token to hush the lawsuits? Sophia swears it's real, Theo backs her quiet, but Derek's rotting in county, ranting from his cell about how Riley's hero act was the real sabotage, stealing his shot at the top, because she couldn't hack the real-world post-mission. Me? I see a woman who flipped the bird to pity, but damn if it doesn't beg the question, was it triumph, or just trading one cage for a fancier one? All right, that's the tale that's been rattling around my head like loose change. Riley Hayes, the Sky Queen in sensible shoes. Hit that like if it fired you up, drop a comment below. Was Marcus's turnaround genuine redemption, or just a CEO dodging the fallout? Ever been the underdog who soared and still got side-eyed? Spill your stories, your takes on class wars in the cubicles. Let's unpack this mess together. 'Cause in the end, who's really flying the damn bird? Subscribe if you're chasing more real talk twists like this, and I'll catch you on the next whirlwind. Peace.